Test, test, 1, 2, 1, 2. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Tactical Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. Today is March 30th, 7:15 p.m. here in Arizona, and we are live. So I wanted to quickly go live and talk about kind of where the market's at right now, what's going on, what to prep for the week, and what to kind of expect. So we could really only go based off of the sentiment and expectations that are kind of scheduled for this upcoming week. As a lot of you guys have already been able to see, NASDAQ market during overnight hours is already down 1.12%. If I'm not mistaken, yep, this would put the NASDAQ market at the lowest point that it's been at this entire bear run. So let me go ahead and double check. Where are we at exactly? So we're trading at 463 during overnight hours. So let me look at the, but we hit lows of 461. So for that moment that we hit those lows from the all-time highs that we hit highs of at 540 per share to the overall lows, that is a 14.5% sell-off. So what is that, 5% away? 5.5% if we want to be, a little bit more precise when it comes down to entering a bear market. So nearly at 20%. We are nearly down 20% from previous all-time highs. So, all right. Can someone please list the stocks? We haven't talked about them, homeboy. We're going to be covering a few. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on a few different stocks that I'm paying attention to this week. Obviously, if you're part of my LPP team, or if you follow me on social media, you would have seen that I've already closed out a part of my trade for my Tesla short that I opened up on Friday. So Tesla was selling off all day Friday, consistently making lower lows and lower highs. It again gapped down. Right now it's down 4.55% during overnight hours. And I made 5.2K based off of what I've closed already. You cannot open up short right now, but you can buy to cover. Remember, this is on Webull. Webull is the trading application that I use. You don't have to. It's available in the US, it's available in Canada, and some other countries as well. If you want to check it out because you like what it has to offer. I don't know if overnight trading is going to be available for everyone outside of the US, but again, it's a free trading application. And if you use my link, it is a referral link. I want to make sure you're aware of that. You do get a sign up bonus. So if you use my link and have an initial deposit of at least $5, you will earn up to 20 free shares. The larger your initial deposit is on Webull, the more shares or free shares that you get. I want to remind you, you can sell those shares and liquidate and close the account if you end up not liking Webull, but you can have more than one trading platform at once. So very happy with the sell-off. I mean, let me just ask you guys. We have about 400 of you guys tuning on in live right now so far. Are we surprised that the market's selling off? I'm not, right? I mean, again, no one can predict the future, but I feel like last week, especially towards the end, we started off the week with like, oh, okay, Trump is kind of going to maybe take it easy on these tariffs, right? I feel like he might be kind of done. That was his tone. That was kind of the attitude that the market was starting to project. And then a switch happened, right? He's like, no, April 2nd, all going into effect. 25% tariffs on all these series of different nations. Then he started presenting the idea of these specific tariffs when it comes down to pharmaceutical companies, right? We talked about that a little bit yesterday. And now he's threatening tariffs, double tariffs on countries like Russia if they don't work with him. I mean, now I feel like it's getting even worse, where he doesn't care how this impacts the market. And I don't blame him, right? Because if we truly think about it, the stock market is not a direct representation of how the American people are being impacted. It's just not. You and I trade it. Most Americans, at least the average American, does not nor is impacted by the market in any way. Yeah, some people have their 401ks, don't get me wrong. But again, that's where it comes down to a lot of those are in more of like basket of type of like ETFs or companies that aren't as heavily impacted. They're not like Tesla, right? Tesla that's down 50% in the past 45 days. So I kind of like it. I like that the markets are pulling on back. It excites me The reason it excites me is because I believe that this is where real money is made. I don't care about the crypto bullshit. I don't care about any of that. And I'm not going to go into it where, I went into it a little bit yesterday, and I feel like a lot of you guys had my back where, I've been getting some comments of people trying to make me feel bad for the market selling off, and they're mad at me because obviously we've been talking about markets being overvalued for a long time. We cannot time the market. I am in no way able to, I didn't short the market perfectly, right? But I also have common sense. And in yesterday's video, I simply expressed the importance of not being greedy at overbought levels. And I feel like my channel, although again, and I've been very open about this, I don't get a ton of views, right? I don't think that's a surprise to a lot of people, right? I've had my channel for, I think this year in 2025, it's about 10 years since I uploaded my first video on YouTube. And, I have some videos that do well, a lot of videos that just kind of stay pretty in the few thousand. But I know a lot of beginners watch my content. I know that for a fact. And while I see every platform and most people on social media that are in very similar positions like me, when I see that all they are doing is encouraging beginners to buy at all-time highs, to buy NFTs, to buy crypto at all-time highs, to invest in PLTR and TEM at extremely overpriced levels, it's crazy that when I try to speak some common sense of hey, maybe it's not the smartest idea. Maybe it's time to manage or mitigate risk. Maybe it's not the worst idea to take profits or reduce your position, right? You would think that that would be the common sense, but common sense is not so common anymore. I think that with all the politics that, we've kind of experienced recently with how people react to the market, and I know for those that watch my content religiously, that nothing I say is cutting edge, right? All I look for is, hey, things look overbought. Or hey, as markets begin to sell off, it excites me because now I get to really prepare to invest for myself, invest for my daughter's account. A lot of you guys know over the weekend, we just announced that we have another baby on the way. And I love that because I can open up little accounts for them. And I believe that money can be made during these downturns where you buy in, you buy good companies, you don't buy too much, you don't buy on leverage, you don't buy on margin, but you just buy enough that you can tolerate the time that it might take for the markets to recover. But while I'm doing it, of course I'm talking shit. Of course I'm talking shit to the people that are like MSTR or the crypto bros that were encouraging everyone to buy at all-time highs. Of course I have to. You might not like it. It might rub you the wrong way. And I get that. That part of my content or my personality, you might not like. But again, I've always been someone that can, I can take it, I can dish it. It's part of my personality. And at least for most of the people that are part of my LPP team that get to watch me trade live, they love it. They love it because, again, even when I'm wrong, I admit it, right? So there's nothing really there to lose, where they get to see my good days, they get to see my bad days. And that's the beautiful thing about trading live with them every day, is that we kind of just document our day-to-day during this downturn, how we prepare for it. If markets continue to sell off, how we continue to short day by day, but we close it out and we prepare long-term, right? So that's the part that I'm really excited for. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, thank you. I wasn't looking at the live chat, so I was not ignoring you. I do appreciate all the congratulations. Thank you. Excited. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped for this week. Let me make this very clear. And unlike all the people that like to encourage you to buy at all-time highs, I'm never here to encourage you to short, right? If you're part of my LPP team, you've heard me say it so many times of, hey, do not copy my trades, right? I know shorting is incredibly risky. And I short with a specific dollar amount that I feel that I can tolerate. And during these downturns, I do believe that there's a lot of money to be made shorting, because as markets sell off, shorting, you make money as the stock sells off. I short with shares. I don't short with options. I don't trade options. I don't touch them. I view them to be too high risk, especially for beginners that don't know how to manage their risk. But with that being said, we're going to be talking about just two main stocks that I'm three. It's not going to surprise you, the three that I'm focused on this week. And then we'll leave it at that. I'll let you guys pick the remaining two stocks that you guys think that we should pay attention to this week. Does that sound like a plan? Are we good? Do I have your thumbs up? Tesla delivery numbers this week. Andy, why you got to ruin it for me? That's my first one. Let me see it in the live chat. Who in their right mind, with all the backlash that Tesla has been getting, with all the targeting, trust me, I've always said it. Like, I'll talk my shit on Tesla, on the stock itself, but I've always been a big Tesla fan, right? Let's use some common sense. Who thinks Tesla's delivery numbers are going to be better or worse than expected? Let me know in the live chat. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be better or worse? Remember, Tesla sets these delivery or announces deliveries, numbers of vehicles that have been delivered this week. So remember, that's news. And then that news, there's an expectation, and depending on what gets reported, will either cause Tesla to sell off even further, or if it's good news, it can cause Tesla to recover. What do you think is going to happen? With all the negative backlash that the market's had on it, with all the, what do we want to call it, targeting on the political side that's been, put up against Tesla, right? What do we think? I think it's fair to say, I think it's just, there's a stigma right now that's bad when it comes down to Tesla. I don't think it's going to be long-lived. I think that, just like anything, people that have too much time on their hands and have nothing better to do are choosing to pick this fight. But I think eventually they'll find something else, right? Nonetheless, this is where there's negative sentiment. And I do not think that, at least for this quarter or for this announcement, Tesla's deliveries are going to be better than expected. It's just my opinion. I've been wrong many times before. But I'm very excited to see what gets reported this week. Before we even get to the stocks, I want to quickly also show you what's in plan for this week. So starting tomorrow, which is March 31st, for those, again, that want to sign up for LPP, the second link in the description down below. We'll be trading live as soon as tomorrow when the market opens. But tomorrow there's the Chicago PMI, and then this one's going to be 15 minutes after the market opens. It looks like on Tuesday we have JOLTS, which are job openings, and then we have PMI report, also ISM manufacturing PMI. That's going to be 30 minutes after the market opens on Tuesday. What do we have? ADP non-farm employment change. That's going to be on Wednesday. What else? That seems pretty normal. Anything else stick out? We got continuing claims, initial claims. That's normal. PMI, yep. Non-manufacturing index, all that. Fed balance sheet. Okay, that's going to be on Thursday. Something to look out for. And again, you guys should all have access to this economic calendar because it might be a lot to remember. Remember, these calendars are always updating and changing. So you guys all have access to this under techbudsolutions.com under trading tools. And then on Friday, we have non-farm payrolls. That's going to be the big one, wouldn't we say? Fed chair also is going to be speaking. Oh, wow. What is that? Almost 2 hours after the market opens on Friday. We all know I don't perform the best on Fridays, except last Friday. Last Friday I did pretty good, but that's going to be one to look out for, right? Especially with what we have planned for this week. So what's going on this week aside from economic reports? The biggest thing that you have to understand is just the sentiment. Like, the sentiment right now for the market is pretty bad. Trump is on a rampage with these tariffs. He's like Oprah Winfrey. He's like, you get a tariff. You get a tariff. It's a joke. It's an analogy that I'm using because I want you to retain it. That's the idea. That's the sentiment right now. It doesn't seem like he's slowing down. But if that sentiment changes, then that's when we can begin to show signs of a support. I want to remind you, what caused the NASDAQ market last time to begin to show signs of a support, right? When we were consolidating, things were not getting worse. More tariffs were not getting handed out. More tariffs were not getting announced. So therefore, it wasn't having a worse or negative effect in the market, right? So as long as this sentiment continues, more selling pressure should follow. That's not rocket science, it's common sense, right? So can the market sell off more this week? Yes. Until sentiment changes, then don't expect there to be a support. Don't expect there to be a reversal. It would be hopeful for you to do so. Now, once and if we get closer to the bear market territory, which is a 20% downturn from all-time highs, which as of right now, we're 5.5% away, then that's a whole nother wave that we have not crossed. I don't know if we're going to get there this week. I don't even know if we're going to get there. I'm just letting you know. As we get closer, that can bring a whole nother wave of selling pressure. I want to remind you, when the markets begin to downturn that much and they sell off 20%, there's a lot of people that can get margin called. This is why we say it over and over again. I made an entire video highlighting not the 3 things to do, but the 3 things not to do. And one of those main things was do not buy the dip using margin. It's common sense. Why are you borrowing money that you don't even have to buy the dip when the dip can continue to dip? It's the first mistake that every crypto bro makes, and it's why they always lose everything. Please, let's use them as an example of what not to be. If the goal is to make money during this bear market, right? Find a good company. Don't overcomplicate it. Do it with a dollar amount that you can tolerate, and don't expect it to recover anytime soon. And buy as lightly and as little as you can, but make it make sense, right? Keep it simple. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else, but just to you. Like for me, I want to buy Tesla when it's extremely oversold, and I want to buy Nvidia. That's all. That's all I'm focused on. That's all, right? I mean, you can look into individual stocks if you're just getting into the market. Maybe you want to get into QQQ or SPY, which is more of a, basket of companies that you're investing in. There's a lot of different ways on how to get invested, but you just create a trade plan. If you guys want, over the weekend or over this week, I can kind of schedule a video that can break that down in a little bit more detail if you guys want me to. If not, no worries. So the first one that I'm going to be paying attention to as the markets are selling off, what do you guys think? As markets are selling off and we're seeing signs of lower lows and lower highs, what do you think I'm going to start paying attention to for all those that are part of LPP? SQQQ, right? It's not rocket science. Let me make this very clear. Do not copy me. I'm just sharing with you what I plan to trade. A trade is not an investment. I do not plan to carry this position for months. It's not an investment vehicle. It's a triple leverage ETF. And because of that, I don't like to encourage it for beginners, but I like to make you aware of what I'm paying attention to. SQQQ goes up 3 times whatever the NASDAQ market goes down. So the NASDAQ market right now, overnight hours, is down 1.18%. That means that SQQQ is up 3.66%. So as the market continues to sell off, an example would be if the NASDAQ market sells off 5%, then SQQQ technically or theoretically should be up 15%. It doesn't work out that way perfectly every single time due to path dependencies, but nonetheless, it's the idea, right? It does 3 times of whatever the market does. If the market begins to recover 5%, then SQQQ would be down 15%. So view this as like a way to be able to leverage without using leverage. As long as direction is in your favor, then it's fine. As soon as direction begins to turn against you, close it out. That's how I would focus on it. SQQQ is one of the main stocks that I'm paying attention to this week. The second one, can you guys guess? Oh, you guessed it. Tesla. Tesla, because of one thing that was stated in this live chat, by one of our viewers. Tesla has deliveries scheduled for this week. With that being said, Tesla is an incredible target right now. There's incredible negative sentiment towards Tesla, and I think that this will only continue to spiral. I think Tesla can go sub $200 per share. Just because I think that doesn't mean that it's going to be true. Last time, as Tesla sold off, the last time it tested support, it hit lows of $210 per share, and that was about 2 weeks ago. That's when the markets were originally selling off. I think this time we could break below $200 per share. Do I expect to swing trade a position all the way down there? Nope. I'm going to take my short position day by day. That's how I like to play it. That's how I like to work with it. And that's my focus. So as long as the market sentiment continues to be bearish, as long as direction is still bearish, then I am bearish on Tesla in the short term. Long term, as Tesla begins to break below $200 per share, I can entertain the idea of possibly going long once I see the sentiment beginning to fade that's negative about Tesla. I'm in no rush to buy the dip on Tesla, which is the part that excites me the most. Remember, the only people that get mad or that freak out during downturns are those that did not prepare. All the crypto bros or people you hear complaining in the comment section are only mad at themselves for buying too much at overbought levels. It's that simple, right? And the third stock, can you guys guess it, that I'm paying attention to this week? What do you guys think? What's the third stock that you think I'm going to short this week? NVIDIA? NVIDIA is selling off quite a bit. But that's not it. Oh, it's like you guys know me. Oh. Hey, MSTR, the ultimate money glitch, the biggest Ponzi loop of 2024 to 2025. So very simple. If Bitcoin is falling, I'm shorting MSTR day by day. The only thing is that MSTR has been moving a little bit slower, which is why I've been focusing a little bit more on Tesla. I don't like to carry two positions at the same time, which is why I like to short one at any given point. So it all depends on how market direction and market volatility is presenting itself. If I see that Bitcoin is beginning to hold, and let's say Bitcoin is being stubborn and it doesn't want to break below $80,000 per coin, at that point, it's going to give MSTR the environment to hold as well. So if there's no selling pressure on MSTR, remember, I don't need to fight it, right? There's a lot of opportunity of a lot of different stocks that are selling off. Of course, I would love to short MSTR, which is why I'm sharing it with you, that's my intention. But if it finds its support and it doesn't continue to sell off, then I'll respect that. Remember, I'm here to work with the direction of the market. And if I see that it's holding, that there's no break of support and price action is not in my favor, I'll respect it enough I'll just short something else, right? Keep it light, keep it tight, and if direction is not in your favor, stay cash. So those are my three. Added GME new stock for you. Now, that was just last week. GME is a pump and dump. It pushed up 16%. It sold off 25%. I'm done with it. After that pump and dump, it could sell off more, but it could also pump. I mean, it's literally the most glorified pump and dump stock out there. And I don't like to fixate on a stock like that for a long period of time, because then at that point, it's just so much consolidation. So we played the big move. It pumped up, became overbought. We shorted it during its downturn, and we made our money and we bounced. So I'm not focused on GME just because, again, there's so much opportunity out there. GME is that worthless to me that I don't even care to pay attention to it. PLTR short. So, I mean, that's a good question. I think PLTR, can it continue to sell off? I mean, look at it. It's down 4%. PLTR is, in my experience, and that's all I could speak from, it's a difficult stock to continue to short. At least it was in the very beginning. Remember when I made videos about it when it was breaking $120 per share? And then it had this huge downturn with the rest of the market. It just has a really strong support right around $70 to $80 per share. Again, there's so many stocks that are so consistently selling off that are actually terrible companies. Like, it's not just that they were overvalued. Like, don't get me wrong. I do think PLTR was overvalued. I've made that very clear with all the different videos I made about it. But it's also kind of like a well-ran business, kind of. Like, it is. In comparison to, there's a lot of shitty companies out there like TEM that are incredibly overvalued, and they're shitty companies. Like, that's an A+ setup. Do you get what I mean? Like, PLTR, I get it. There's money to be made because if the overall markets are selling off, PLTR can sell off as well. I just wouldn't fixate on trying to stick it to PLTR when we know that it could perform better than a lot of these other much more terrible companies. Do you get what I mean? Does that make sense? So do you ever trade TSLL or TSLQ? What's going on, Jordan? I have before. I just don't like to recommend it or talk about it. I don't recommend anything for beginners, but I don't like to talk about it too much because it's a leveraged way to be able to go long or short on Tesla. And I don't think that beginners need to be exposed to that kind of leverage. Do you get what I mean? Tesla is already an incredibly volatile stock. It's already down 5%. Imagine 2x or 3x of that. For those that do not know, I'll talk about it just so you know, but there's these ETFs that follow Tesla. There's a lot of these popular ETFs that follow very popular stocks. Like there's one for MSTR. MSTR is a shitty company, right? So then there's an inverse ETF of it. Tesla has Tesla Q, which is the double leverage ETF for Tesla, and it does the opposite. So it's the short ETF. So when Tesla sells off 5%, this thing is up 9.6%. The reason I don't like talking about this is, yes, it's very easy to talk about this when direction is in your favor and when it's going your way. It's terrible. And this is the common mistake that a lot of beginners make, is that when then direction turns against you, a lot of beginners don't know how to take profits or manage risk. So then they're also exposed to the downside. So this is kind of like being leveraged by just buying an ETF. So yes, leverage is an incredible vehicle to utilize when direction is in your favor. It's terrible when it plays against you. And I just don't think beginners have the tools nor the experience to understand that fully, right? So that's why I don't like talking about it too much. A lot of our LPP traders do trade it though. They're very well aware of it. But again, a lot of people on YouTube that are kind of just jumping from video to video, they just hear of a stock and then they just go and trade it. Like, again, this is why anytime I talk about something, even something I'm considering doing, I always talk about the risk, because I think that I'm always aware that there's two sides to every opportunity. So let's go ahead and let's break down your favorite two stocks for this week. So I talked about mine. What is your guys' focus this week? With all the Trump tariff announcements that are planned for this week, with Tesla's deliveries scheduled for this week, what else is scheduled for this week that you think the stock that you are sharing is the main stock to be paying attention to? What do we think? I talked about Tesla. I talked about MSTR. I talked about SQQQ. Okay, we're talking about NVIDIA a lot. Let's pull it up. NVIDIA is getting pretty wrecked. Have you guys paid attention to it? From 153, I think NVIDIA could break below $100 per share. It's currently down about 30%. I think we can get closer to that 40% mark. It's just my 2 cents. It's just my opinion. I think that there's a lot of downturn. And I think that unfortunately, although NVIDIA is a very well-run company, it's one of the most successful and largest companies that's publicly traded. I think this AI boom, right? We all talked about it. I've been very vocal about it. Just like anything, when something pumps up this much too quick, then there's these big corrections. And then a lot of people lose a lot of money that were over leveraged at these overbought levels. So I think that there could be a retracement. I would love to see it closer to $80 per share. And I would love to go long at that position. In the short term, yeah, as markets are selling off, as long as sentiment is still bearish, and as long as things are still getting worse for the market, it's an odd way to think. As long as that's the case, I can see why someone would entertain shorting NVIDIA, because of how overbought it is, because of all the hype that it had with AI, if things do begin to downturn and get bad for the overall market, then companies like this will also see maybe a much larger hit. That's why you're seeing something like Nvidia sell off maybe a lot more than Apple, right? If we look at Apple, Apple was downturning way before the rest of the market, but Apple's down as well, but Apple's only down 15, 16%. There's a reason that Apple, in my opinion, is one of the most successful companies that's publicly traded. It doesn't trade too far away from its like true, value. Like it's not as hyped up as all these other companies might be. So because of that, during these downturns, it also doesn't lose a substantial amount of its value. Do you get what I mean? There's a reason why SPY and NASDAQ are heavily invested in Apple versus many of the other popular tech companies. So I can see why NVIDIA is a big focus for a lot of people that are choosing to short. I would just like to remind you that NVIDIA is a very well-ran company, and if anything that they share acts as a positive catalyst, it can quickly turn against you, and it is already somewhat oversold. Just something to be mindful of. Okay? Can I do one more stock for you guys? Can I break down one more stock? Who's going to join us for tomorrow's live trading session, right? There's a handful of you guys that asked for Friday's live trading session over Instagram because some of you guys were ready to sign up for LPP. So again, whenever it is that you guys are ready, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. It's designed for complete beginners, and you can start watching me trade live as soon as tomorrow. And it's the second link in the description down below. There's a $200 discount if you click that link that breaks down LPP to $1.35 per day. And you get to watch me trade live every day. So again, if you want to, you obviously don't have to. You can just subscribe to us here on YouTube. But whenever it is that you feel like you are ready, we'd love to have you there. Have we done QQQ yet? That was the first one that we talked about, QQQ and SQQQ. All right. Netflix. That's interesting. Why Netflix? It's overbought, but it doesn't look like it's being impacted much by the market. And again, if there's nothing wrong with it, it could downturn. But if we're talking about all the companies, our focus is what can we make money on this week, Netflix wouldn't be on the top of my list because it's not selling off as aggressively with the rest of the market. At least my assumption is that the market's going to continue to sell off, and I want to make money shorting. I do see Netflix selling off a bit more, but it's just its downside exposure doesn't seem to be as great as the rest of these more popular trendy tech stocks. Just my 2 cents. Maybe you don't want to be open to that volatility, which I respect, right? Definitely. So first time on the channel and I'm enjoying it. Does this happen every Sunday? Sinful Davey. Yeah, we try to. So it was originally called our Sunday Stock Talk. I started it 8 years ago. Do you guys remember that? Now everyone uses Sunday Stock Talk as, a thing. But I started about 8 to 9 years ago, and we go live for about 30 minutes. It's a nice little way to kind of prep for the trading week. And then I go live every single day during the trading week. So if you ever want to tune on into that, it's the second link in the description down below. But welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to join us. Money just doesn't disappear. Where does it sell off to? What do you mean? What do you mean it doesn't disappear? If you're invested and you invested into Tesla at $400 per share, it's not that it disappears, it's that people took a loss. So yes, their money did lose value. So therefore they lost whatever X amount that they were down. And the people that shorted it then make money based off of, the difference from where they open the short and where they buy to cover. How does that not make sense? All right. What do you think about TGT? TGT, not the first one then. Yeah, TGT has been on a consistent downturn, testing previous lows. What are you looking at TGT for? To go long or to go short? Because we're talking about this week. Actually, I was talking to my cousin last week, and this was one of the stocks that he was entertaining buying and to go long on because he thinks that this would be a good investment long term. Yeah, possibly. I think out of if we're just looking at the technicals, sure, I can see the setup. Fundamentals, I think Walmart and Costco historically have just been better performing stocks over a long period of time for a reason. TGT kind of goes to that of go woke, go broke mentality. And once it breaks the support, we could see more downturn. So I don't know what your intention is. If your intention is to short, I mean, it's kind of already approaching a support. If your intention is to go long, there's no indication or confirmation of reversal. I would say it's too early to say right now. I would set alerts. I wouldn't be afraid to set alerts, right? Maybe for the break above or break below. And then maybe you can make a more informed decision and follow up with the stock once direction becomes more clear. If it continues to sell off and it breaks that support, then maybe you can entertain the idea of shorting if it meets your criteria. If it breaks above and you get that confirmation that it's beginning to recover, then finally it's doing something that it wasn't, then maybe if it meets your criteria, you can entertain the idea of going long. Again, there's this concept in this market, especially when it comes down to investing, is that it pays to be patient instead of making impulsive decisions like a lot of other traders. And again, I've been that person where sometimes we overtrade or we're so eager to jump into something right now, right here. It's like, why are we in a rush? Let's stay patient. There's a lot of money to be made if it does recover. Let's stay patient. Set the alert. And wait for your criteria to be met, right? You found an opportunity, list your criteria of what needs to happen, and until it's met, I wouldn't trade it or invest in it. Make sense? All right. AMD for $100 short. AMD has been getting wrecked. I just typed in. AMD just looks like it's not Wall Street's favorite. Consistent downturn, lower highs, lower lows. It would make more sense to short this than it would to go long on it. Again, I agree that it's oversold, but Wall Street just doesn't like AMD. And it's a consistent descending pattern. I'm not rocket scientist, but is it easier to swim with the current or against it? As of right now, at least for the past few months, it's been consistently selling off. So what would you say? If my focus is to make money this week, if sentiment is bearish and direction is bearish, and this stock has been selling off for the past 2 to 3 months, what do you think makes the most sense? To buy the dip and hope I get lucky, or to go with the flow, to go with the sentiment and short as it continues to sell off? But yes, AMD is oversold enough that maybe you don't want to entertain the idea of shorting, and I respect that. So GameStop. If you have money that you just want to blow on GameStop, I think you're better off just walking into a GameStop and buying a game, because at the end of the day, if you're investing in GameStop, I don't think that there's going to be a much of a return long term. I think GameStop pumps and dumps. I think it's a great way to be able to trade when momentum and direction are favorable. But I think GameStop, as it's proven to be last week, is a bullshit company that's looking at any form of gimmick to stay relevant and to get people excited to buy into it. Just like MSTR, it was a bullshit company that had no attention, that shifted to buying Bitcoin to gain attention and gain credibility. Fortunately, MSTR did it during a very crucial time for Bitcoin. Unfortunately for GameStop, they were too late to the game, just like Mara. I'm not too sure if you guys heard over the weekend, Mara is also doing share offerings, borrowing against their investors so they can buy Bitcoin. Again, it's a shit show all over again. So you don't have to take my word. Again, we're all entitled to our own opinion. If you're super bullish on crypto, I wish you nothing but the best. I would say put your money where your mouth is and buy as much as you can at these overbought levels and let the results talk, right? I think that Bitcoin's going to come crashing down harder this time than it ever has before. And I think all of that is thanks to Michael Saylor for being incredibly over leveraged. I think it's going to be the FTX scandal all over again. And Michael Saylor is going to look beautiful in a jumpsuit, just like what do they call him? Sam Bankman-Fried. So again, just my opinion, just my 2 cents based off what we've seen in the past before. It seems like it's the same mistake that is made over and over again. These people become too incredibly over leveraged at overbought levels. They get too excited. They don't know how to take profits. They don't know how to manage risk. And then when it all comes crashing down, everyone needs a fall guy. And I don't think Michael Saylor is necessarily doing anything wrong, because he's made it very clear that his intentions were to buy as much Bitcoin as he could. But I think that investors are just going to turn against him. It's the unfortunate truth about Wall Street. they always need a fall guy. Regardless if you agree or disagree, and that's one thing, like you guys know that I'm not a fan of Michael Saylor, but I also don't think he's doing anything wrong technically. He's been very open with his intentions, and I think that's why it's caught so much momentum, and we'll see. We'll see how it turns out for him. So very excited. Hope to see you guys for tomorrow's live trading session. I appreciate you guys spending part of your Sunday with me. Hopefully I earn your thumbs up. Maybe you can consider subscribing if you feel like we earned it. And I want to remind you that sentiment is pretty bearish this week. And until that sentiment changes, I just would not hope for something to happen out of nowhere. Let's take it day by day. We should not be in a rush to jump into something when things look like they can get worse before they actually get better. So very excited to share kind of my trading experience with you guys. Hope to see you tomorrow. Second link in the description down below. We'll see you at Market Open for our live trading session. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team. So what time for live EST? Market Open. 9:30 a.m. EST or 6:30 a.m. if you're here in Arizona or kind of the West Coast with me. So, but Market Open is Market Open. So wherever that is for you. Market Open, I go live for 30 minutes to an hour every single day. If you want to tune on in, second link in the description down below. If not, just subscribe to the channel. Take care.